down. When you walking past me, badass. Damn, I hope she nasty. Slim thick, and she got a fatty. Turn around, yeah, let me look at it. Slow it down. When you walking past me, badass. Damn, I hope she nasty. Slim thick.
What's good, everybody? I'm Josiah, the Prince, producer, artist, engineer based in Wisconsin, and you're now tuned into the Journey Podcast, where we strive to inspire the future generation of young entrepreneurs, creatives, and business owners. Make sure you tune into the Journey Podcast on Fridays at 7 p.m., where we have some amazing guests ranging from directors, record label owners, reality TV stars, actors, and so much more. Make sure you tap in, all right? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, all right? All right, first I'd like to say thank you for being on my podcast, my brother. I appreciate you.
Yes, the pleasure is mine. Yes, sir.
Already.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. So where are you at right now? You in Florida right now?
Yes, sir. Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah.
I'm liking it out there.
Loving it. It's been a little over a year now.
Yeah.
Yep.
All righty. Yeah, it has been a minute since I've seen you, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's extremely hot down here right now.
Mm-hmm.
This summer is hotter than last summer. Boy, you gotta be careful. You have a stroke out there. I'm not kidding.
What's the degrees like out there? Like hundreds?
Yeah, we've been having some 109 days. We've had we got some hot days, and it's humid, so you sweat real fast down here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
My sister used to live out there, and it was absolutely lovely out there. The only thing I didn't like is the sand, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy to watch grass grow through sand.
Right.
And what's really shocked me, one of the craziest things we noticed is, like, instead of like Christmas tree, like let's say farms or stores or whatever have you, there's a lot of palm tree. Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, these don't just grow like this. They got to plant them. Well, see, I think one thing is, like, a lot of, the summer storms, like the hurricane season and all that.
Right.
There's so many of them that fall over.
That's true.
So I see why, because you'll see some propped up with like boards just to replant them, because and that's the other thing. The summer rains I love summer rains.
Yeah.
So shout out to Carl Thomas. I love summer rains. So that's one of the nicest things. But when you're driving in them and they're crazy, it's a bit scary, because the people down here drive like they ain't got no sense.
None whatsoever. And what is like highways to get pretty much everywhere. So
everywhere. It blew my mind, coming from like just little old Kenosha. And like we hit Chicago and whatnot, and the traffic could be crazy, like going down through there, like the Eisenhower, I think it's Eisenhower Expressway or whatever.
Right.
All that, but or the Kennedy, but whatever. But there's so many bridges, and there's so many ons and offs and crazy twists and turns, like that. When because I drove down here, so when I first got off, or thought I was getting off the highway to get on another highway, the lanes were so insane and it was so busy that I was like, man, am I gonna make it to my destination?
Right.
So it's really big. Well, it's really busy, but it's really, really big. So it's really, really spread out down here. One of the biggest cities in the States. So.
Definitely. Yeah, I love it out there. It's beautiful. Tropical weather. Hot, definitely.
The beaches are nice. There's so many. We've been to so many, from the Atlantic, all the Jax beaches down to the Crescent beaches, the Augustine beaches, Orlando. It's just beautiful, man. It really is.
Y'all been down to Miami yet?
Not yet. Haven't made it that far yet. Not yet. We're trying to plan our next getaway. We're actually thinking about maybe Hawaii or something different. But she don't seem too excited to even go to Miami. So we may, but she's kind of want like a getaway, destination getaway. So we'll see.
Yeah, because Miami pretty busy. If you're going to Miami, you gotta be out having fun, and that's the sexy city right there. Shirts off. Definitely. I'm supposed to be in Miami, so by the time this airs, I'll either be leaving or I'll have left from
You
Miami.
see it again? Dang, y'all come down here a lot, bro.
Definitely. That's how you do it. You network in one city first and foremost, put your name out there completely, then move on to the next one, and then just keep on planting yourself out there and just keep on moving.
That's right.
Like campaigning. So let's get right into this interview. For those who don't know, like I know who you are, the amazing individual that you are. Who is Keith Richmond, aka Dot
Rich? Well, Keith Richmond now is old man, you know, fading artist. No, I don't want to say that.
Not at all.
I'm getting old and weak and but yeah, I'm an all around artist. Grew up in Wisconsin. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. I started getting into music and art. Well, I've been doing art since I was in elementary, like just drawing, and it put me through a lot of art courses because the talent was noticed in that right away. And when I hit middle school, that's when I discovered like hip hop as far as me being like a rapper or hip hop artist, just on an accident. You know, my brother used to pressure me to like freestyle, and he used to secretly record me. And from the recordings, he made me take them to school, and I would play them for my boys. And then like from there, you know, people told me I was nice. So then I just started writing, and I would always bounce back and forth between writing raps and doing artwork. And I always had this crazy idea to try to spin the two together. And at the time, I really didn't have a rap name. And, you know, you keep coming up with all these crazy things. Back in the 90s, of course, I was like MCK. And then like it became like Key C. People would say Keith's cool, Keith's crazy. So that's why I became Key C. And then Dot Rich didn't really come until my 20s, like after I graduated college. And really what it was that most of my raps were more like poetic or just rapping, you know. And I had a certain point in my life where I was trying to like, how could I get a buzz? And my guy was like, you need to make some hit type tracks. And so I tried to create a new persona, and people used to call me K Dot, you know, before Kendrick. They would call me K Dot and K Dot Rich. And so it just kind of stuck. And then like I dropped the K and Dot Rich to try to make it like a branding thing. And then like my persona Dot Rich basically was, okay, this is how I'm going to try to approach becoming a star. You know what I mean? So that's really where Dot Rich came from. And then from there, it branches off to other things as far as like Old Man Rich and the Kios and all that. But that's
questions about those. Definitely. So at what point did Dot Rich Studios come into play?
So let's say early 2000 is when I created the name Dot Rich. And that's why sometimes on certain clothing, like when I was releasing the clothing, it would say circa 2004. Because that's when I created the name, and I started, that's when I dropped the first GSV project, which was the mixtape. Graduate Studies Volume 1 was the mixtape. And I introduced the persona. And I used to do the press on iron stuff and just put Dot Rich all over my clothes, just like, who's Dot Rich? And the name just kind of popped back then, you know. And that's when I was selling CDs out my backpack. So I was this dude that ran around with glasses in the backpack and blonde hair, and selling Dot Rich CDs, right?
Catching attention.
But as far as the business, like before, I had a business with my guy. Shout out to Marcus and my boy Kalen, my artist Adolf Hideous, who's now my artist Adolf Hideous. But at the time, we had a group called, it went from the Answer to the Alliance. And then me and my guy, Marcus, he was into photography, and then he got into graphic design. So we kind of started like this business called 80s Baby Music, media productions. And so that was the branding before. So Dot Rich wasn't really like, because it was always a group thing. So I never really had a solo persona until like we kind of like separated. And then I kind of went away from music and art as a whole. And I tried to give it up. I was married. I was in my early 30s, and I was like, I'm good on it. Mm-hmm. And then one day again, like now, it seemed to creep back up on me. And out of nowhere, Dot Rich was the name. I was working on the volume 2, and something told me you need to make Dot Rich a thing. And it was actually Jasper Myers who goes by the name the Jazz Master, who produced the track on the album, the Rockin' Chair. And he told me I need to make it a thing because I used to always do like an art show when I did an album release party. I would do them together. And he was like, man, you need to sell these services. So my wife, we're talking about I need an LLC. So that's where just like, you know what, Dot Rich Studios LLC. And so from at that point, back when I first started really, really rocking with y'all, it was like right before that, like not too long ago, 2018, I believe, is when basically Dot Rich Studios became a thing. And that was and like always, the volume 2. So when I dropped volume 2, it was so many years between, because you talk about 2004 to 2018, right? And that was such a long span of time. Like, and I still wasn't in the social media realm like y'all were. So I wasn't dropping music on like any social platform. I did CDs again. And what I did 4 discs in one. So I was trying to play catch up for the time I lost. Gotcha. And at the time I started rushing out a lot of like videos. I started doing just so much, and I actually ended up burning myself out. But that was the pinnacle of what really established Dot Rich Studios. And then, from working with you, Shalon, Felicia Chapman, like all the actors and artists, as far as all the projects, I was trying to play catch up, and I felt like catch up to y'all because y'all are in that new era of music and social media. Like, when we did the soundtrack, mm-hmm. I didn't have a clue how to get my music on streaming. Right, streaming platform. That's why I say you put me up on a lot of new stuff, bro. Like, no problem. Yeah. Man. So then from there, like what I did actually, I wanted to get back to making the art again and stop focusing on selling the services, because that was the thing. I kind of burnt myself out, and that's where COVID kind of helped me out. Where because I had to dial back, like I had to dial back on the movie premiere stuff I was doing, and the services, and so I took that time to rebuild myself. I was actually, what's crazy is I had it in the back of my mind to do the volume 3, but it wasn't going to be my last album. It was going to be just maybe 3, then a 4, and then like move on to something else to bring closure to it. And I actually had 2 of the tracks that are on the album way back right after I released the last volume. And I just kind of sat on them and tucked them away, but I knew what I was going to do with them. Mm-hmm. And they gave me a purpose for the volume 3, but I just tucked them, and like, I need to finish up what I'm doing and tuck them. And then I really didn't mess with them again. From time to time, I would go and listen to them tracks, and I hear some other tracks, but I really wasn't feeling like making music again. And then after everything that happened, and like with all the, the stuff in the city with the Jacob Blake stuff, the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff, and there's just the personal stuff, my wife was ready to move away from Wisconsin because I had promised her that if things went kind of sour with the business, and if we sold our house. And it all just happened overnight. So when actually, like, what's crazy is I was thinking about who to have on the album. I wanted to work with you on the album, of course. I talked to Shalon, TLP, C3. The list goes on. A bunch of artists from Kenosha. Like I said, it wasn't supposed to be the final album. There was so much I wanted to do with the volume 3 right before I did volume 4. And when we moved, so right before we moved, I had talked to AB, Angel Brantley, and he said, yeah, I want to get on the album. And I originally wanted to do a track with him and TLP, you know, just to kind of like make them do a song together, right? So AB was down, but AB hit me up quick, bro. Like he hit me and he was like, I think I know what you want for the album. Give me a minute. And I was like, cool, forgot about it. I swear to God, like a week later, he hit me up and said, hey, I got something for you. I'm gonna email it to you. Tell me what you think. And I said, you got the beat? He said, yeah, something I did. And just check it out. Let me know what you think. And I put that thing, he had his verse on it already. So I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, he knew. He was, and we chopped it up a few times, so he kind of knew where I was kind of going, and as far as the direction for this project. And it was just too sweet. And again, I tucked that one though, because I was like, we were in that whole spin of moving away. And once the house sold, I just dipped. You know, I had sold like everything besides my mic, my mixer stuff, and my desktop. That's the only thing I kept when I came down here. And when I got here, I stashed. It was all boxed up and stashed away. And my mind wasn't there. All my art, all my drawings and stuff for the comic book were all stashed away. And I just came down here and just enjoyed the experience of Florida, bro. I'm telling you, we was on the beach every day. Right. We were meeting people like endlessly. It was just so much fun. I felt like I was in a whole new world, bro. And then my wife had surprised me for our anniversary last year, July. And she surprised me with a photo shoot. And we met this photographer randomly at this beach, this private beach called Little Talbot Island, right?
Okay.
And check this out. The name of her company is Oceans and Wildfires. So yes. So I'm not kidding you, bro. It just felt surreal, but it was a dope experience. And after she did the shoot and we saw the photos, I was talking to her. I said, I got a question. Have you ever done photography for an album cover? Just a random question. Because it sparked the idea. And I was like, dang, I know a photographer. Damn, right? And I was trying to fight it, but I couldn't resist. And so she was like, yeah, definitely do it if you're ready. And she thought it was weird. Like, here we go, another rapper. You know? Shout out to Kayla Ross of Oceans and Wildfire Photography. She's amazing, by the way, bro. Young Black. She's early 20s. Just graduating. She just entered, I think she just finished police academy. She's also in nursing, and she's an amazing photographer. She does so many weddings and couple shoots. She just grew so tremendously at such a young age. And so I wanted to work with her, you know, just for that reason. And so I threw a couple of outfits together. We set a time and then we met out. And she just took me to a bunch of random locations and shot these photos. And I sat on those photos, bro, for a year. I didn't touch them.
Yeah.
I looked at them and I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to tuck these. If I don't finish the album, I just wasted $600. Right? So that was a motivating factor, right? Good. So then from there, I don't know, randomly like going to work and like when we had downtime and like my wife had started when she started working and she finally got into a school down here. She finished her master's and got into a school that she started working with the youth. I had free time on my hands. So then I started messing with the beats again. And then I just started writing. And bro, once I started writing, I couldn't stop. And then the ideas just started flowing. And then as soon as I finished like all the conceptualizing, like, of course I got like 19 tracks on there. Right. I had enough to do a double disc. And there's songs I just decided not to put on there because I was like, I'm not doing what I did before. I'm gonna condense it, keep it simple. You know, I talked to my guy, the Adolf Hideous. He said, keep it simple, just put it out there, bro. And so that's what I did. And then it was like as far as the mixing, you know, I really wasn't that comfortable with mixing. But after, once again, you know, my guy used to always want me to mix. He'd be like, man, you edit art and crap and photo, all the editing you do with video and stuff, you could. And I was like, it's just not my thing until you came over and we did the soundtrack and you made me confident enough to like tinker with it. And then once I got like the hang of the program and I started liking how it was flowing, bro, I started recording every free day I had, I would record. And then I was just lost in that mindset. And when I remember the last song I recorded was the first song on the album. I waited to record that one because I knew it was going to be, it was the song that I had, that was the first beat I had and I already had the concept for. Originally the track was only like 3 minutes and it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds now. But the song I originally wrote it was actually 11 minutes. I threw away 3 verses because I was like, that's just overkill. But that song is basically the final installment of the Back to School series songs. You know, I did a Back to School song on each one, but instead of calling it Back to School Again or 3, I called it Come Home With Me, based on the concept of the album being basic instructions before leaving Earth and like everything that entailed leaving and coming and going. So yeah, man, that's it. and then the thing about Old Man Rich was closing the album, I was in a state, and I don't want to overstep because I don't know where your questions are.
Good.
But as far as Old Man Rich being the persona, the core persona on this album, I wanted to bring the closure, but I needed a way to tie the album to what I'm doing next, which is focusing on the graphic novel, as you knew and you know. And of course, that's what the soundtrack was a part of. That's what the movie was a part of. So which way to go out? And since I was like saying I was coming to the finale, the ending, I wanted Old Man Rich to be the kind of focal point of it. So people can kind of get to know who he was, but then also tie in some of the other personas and characters, side characters that are a part of the project as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. You really got animated in that album.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
A lot of characters, but I like what you did with that, definitely. As I said before, on your album, you have some interesting skits.
Yeah.
Characters. Like the Jazz Master gave me some eerie Get Out feels. But it's okay. I ain't gonna let him get me there. Can you tell me how you came up with these characters and skits? Like,
yes. So without giving away too much, because I want people to read the novel and like kind of be surprised. They're all characters in the graphic novel.
That's dope.
And so the graphic novel is called The Black Presentation Notebook. The funny thing about that title is that was originally, so like I said before, when I was playing catch up to my albums, and trying to get back into, making the music again, I had written 10 albums and the final one to close that series that I had did back in 2004, 2005, 2006, I had written 10 albums. And when I came back and released volume 2, I condensed it to 4. So a lot of songs were albums condensed and a lot of concepts. But one of the final albums was the Black Presentation Notebook, and that was supposed to bring closure to my portfolio, and that's why it was called the Black Presentation Notebook originally. And so, but once I did that and I kind of closed out the idea for the albums, I changed the name of my comic book I was working on to the Black Presentation Notebook. And so basically it was to become an accumulation of all the works that I was spinning together, as far as characters, song concepts, just different emotional personalities and things like that. So on this project, I really want. On the previous one, there's tracks and scenarios. There's a little bit of animation, so I kind of introduced it. But on the last 2 volumes, I really tried to be more personal. I let people into more of my personal feelings in life, the childhood part. Where with the Old Man Rich project, I wanted to make it more about the graphic novel and the scenarios that occur along the timeline of that graphic novel. So I got 6 volumes of the graphic novel, and each volume is based around 6 or 8 main characters, we'll say. And so, and they don't know each other, but they end up meeting each other right at the end of volume 6.
Okay.
So what I did is took pieces of scenarios from each of those volumes and created the songs. And that's why, like, and so with like Keo, the second song in the album is actually Keo's theme song.
Right.
So, and then from there, obviously, Old Man Rich is his theme song.
That one was big, man. Big. That was very animated. Very animated. I felt like I was right there with him. Now, Old Man Rich, I'm getting Stink Meaner vibes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think so. I think just like any artist, because one thing I've noticed, like, and I never noticed this before until especially this project, people used to always, and it's not that I hated it, because I thought, he was always my favorite artist. I would always get comparisons to Tupac. And like, to me, I don't think I sound anything like him, but I think it's
sound on there, the Pieta, that sound like your mama.
I think it's because I got more of a 90s feel, and obviously he was a great inspiration. On this project, man, I didn't heard everything from Red and Meth to man, I couldn't tell, like, about people tell me I sound like Drake, Dr. Dre. Like, I was like, yeah, they think about the 90s. And Ludacris, I done heard Ludacris so many times.
Definitely.
And I think what I'm saying is, I think a lot of it was based on the inspiration from a lot of those. I even got Eminem compared to Eminem, which was shocking. But it was the separation anxiety song that some were saying it gives them an Eminem vibe. So I think more of it is the vibe because of inspiration, and I think that also is what happens when I create the characters and the artwork. I remember when I first created a lot of the characters for the graphic novel, a lot of them started looking and feeling too much like characters that existed, like outfits, like trying to make it look like traditional comic book stuff. And there's so many different ranges of characters that it's easy to like compare them, Right. Excuse me. So what I did, I revamped all those characters' looks to make them not fit into a traditional looking style of comic book, because I wanted it to stand out more. And that's really what I wanted to do with this album as well. Like, I guess like on the Pieta, like you were saying, the sound of me, like a lot of times on my older music, that was the delivery I would have. Like, I love the bass line beats. I love those smooth, slow, melodic beats, because then I can get into that groove and I just kind of like either tell the story or just kind of like try to hit your heart piece based on the storyline. But in this one, I was like, okay, how can I make it so it don't feel like the whole album doesn't feel like that? Well, obviously, if I approach all these characters, those characters themselves are animated in certain ways that it will have to be. So all the production kind of has to fall into that line. And I personally, I just feel like I got blessed or lucky, with the beats, as far as some, like, so as far as like, I worked with Mubs Got Beats again, who did What If There Be Tharn song. And so they actually produced the track, The School of Athens. And after I got that beat, he sent me the beat for What Doesn't Matter Doesn't Exist. That song was not supposed to be on the album, but he sent it, and I was vibing with it. And one day I just wrote to it, and I had the theme song out of nowhere. And then that happened with my brother-in-law right before I left Kenosha. He was dibbling dabbling making beats, and he let me hear the one for the separation anxiety. And I was like, bro, let me get that. I heard everything in my head, like the whole industrial sound, like in a warehouse, like just crazy sounds. And I heard all these voices, and I was like, I need that beat. And he's like, I don't think it's ready. And he was like, you sure this will work for what you're trying to do? It's really this kind of vibe. Yeah, because he'd never had a track out. And he was like, who are the producers you working with? Every day, like when I was down here, I hadn't even touched that beat. He would hit me up like, had you worked on it yet? I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. I wrote the song, it's recorded, I'm just sitting on it. And he was like, you gonna let me hear it? And I didn't do nothing to it. So I was messing with him, right? He was like, he said, what about the other producers? How do you compare it? Are you sure it's gonna match up? And I was like, you're fine, bro. You
Right.
fine.
Right.
But as far as like, so with the characters and like that whole stink meter thing, there's this, we'll put this out here, but there's this dude I work with, this old guy named Johnny. And so there's two people obviously on the chorus that are talking. Old Man Rich is one of them. And originally I was going to have him talking to someone else with that scenario. But there's a guy at my job who kind of sound like Stink Meter. And he always talking this shit every day. Excuse my language. But he just made me say, okay, I got to put that style in this whole thing. And obviously when I did the voice, I was practicing the voice. And to me, when I was recording it, I didn't hear that until I heard it played back. And I was like, it sounds like Stink Meter. And I just kept it because I wanted to see what people would say. And so, yeah, that's where that came from.
I can say honestly that was
and of course like
skit out of all of it.
Aaron McGruder, hats off, is one of the great. Was always one of my inspirations. I remember back when I was at Parkside when I was still in school, he was doing the comic book for the comic strips. He had the comic strips out in the paper, and we were talking. Me and some of the other students were always just talking about him, and they were like, "I think he's gonna be big, man. He's gonna be big." And kid you not, bro. And this is when I was first learning about graphic design, before it was like on the market, as far as like, this was before apps, obviously, when it was just on the, you had to get the software. And if you lucky, like to upgrade, you get like these key codes and you.
right. Yeah.
Because they used to be so expensive back then, man.
Definitely.
Now
you
so,
got subscriptions.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so I think a part of that too, like I was saying with creating characters, and that's why sometimes I reflect back and I'm like, okay, how can I make this stand out, but still show my appreciation? Because I love the comparisons, just for the simple fact, to just be in that conversation makes me feel like, I've obviously, it shows who and what I've been inspired by, right. But also like maybe I'm more talented than I ever thought I was, to even be compared to somebody who I consider great, Yeah, so yeah, like little Stink Meter vibes.
Definitely. So at this portion in the interview, I like to give a opportunity for a spotlight. So we're gonna get into our spotlight right now. All right.
Okay.
I'm whipping the game, they call him a name. I feel like a plane, and what would you call that? I heard your gal is a fan, you see what I'm saying? Fuck it, I'm all that. Oh yeah, I heard of these squeal, he taking the deal, these niggas, they all rats. I heard he tucking the chain, boy, you ashamed, what happened to all that? Boy, you look bad, you need a little meal. I am the man and keeping it real. I'm losing my cool, they told me to chill. Can't mess with these hoes, they come with a bill. I had all my rounds, we're taking a loss. A lot of my niggas, they making it out. You betting them on, you consider a boss. I'll never want less, I want all that. I'm really rich, I need me some more. Don't want no more friend, cause all of them jokes. Stop with the capping and calling me bro. I'm never gonna stop, I'm always on go. She throwing it back, she been a low pro. You thinking I'm playing the F and then blow. I'm making her feel it, it's all in the throat. The DME messages calling me dope. Your favorite rapper be fake trapping. I'm on the verge to make things happen. 100 rounds, nigga tap dancing. You think it's funny, boy, I ain't laughing. Don't want less than 100 mil. You in my way, boy, you roadkill. Niggas claiming it's so real. She thick and fair like oatmeal. Don't dream about phantoms, ride through Atlanta, bringing the camera, I'm on the way. Them niggas gon' jam him, he in a panic, boy, they done blam him, he out the way. Don't tell me you with it, sick of the critics, feeling the vibe, that's all I'ma say. Don't show him no pity, I'm from the city, niggas gon' ride if you in a way. I'm whipping the game, they call him a name, I feel like a plane, and what would you call that? I heard your gal is a fan, you see what I'm saying? Fuck it, I'm all that. Oh yeah, I heard of these squeal, he taking the deal, these niggas, they all rats. I heard he tucking the chain, boy, you ashamed, what happened to all that? Boy, you look bad, you need a little meal. I am the man and keeping it real. I'm losing my cool, they told me to chill. Can't mess with these hoes, they come with a bill. I had all my rounds, we're taking a loss. A lot of my niggas, they making it out. You betting them on, you consider a boss. I'll never want less, I want all that. Pick new friends, I'm just saying. Get your chains, pick this brain. Fuck with lame, that's a shame. No prissy shit, she really bang. Niggas all on that star shit. TikTok will get them clout quick. You ain't bout it, don't talk shit. Straight out the trench, they pop shit. Don't talk about money, them niggas, they grimy. They put up a bag to put on your head. They know that I'm coming, I never look down on a nigga that grinding.
don't fuck with me. That mean you never could fuck with me. Good pussy make you bust quicker. One in the head, I'ma bust quicker. Pull the roof back on my whip. Cuban chain, a solid drip. 33, you callin' pip. 34, the truth won't miss. 3.5, she blow a spit. She bout to bust into a split. Hitting notes like Taylor Swift. While she riding on the dick. Stop that talking and control it. These fake balls, I had to grow it. In my lane, I had to flow it. Private life, I never show it. When this shit to entertain, I'm in this shit to make a bang. You see the difference, that's the thing. I admit we not the same. I'm whipping the game, they calling my name. I feel like a plane, and what would you call that? I heard your gal is a fan, you see what I'm saying? Fuck it, I'm all that. Oh yeah, I heard of this squeal, he taking the deal, these niggas, they all rats. I heard he tucking the chain, boy, you ashamed, what happened to all that? Boy, you look bad, you need a little meal. I am the man and keeping it real. I'm losing my cool, they told me to chill. Can't mess with these hoes, they come with a bill. I had all my rounds, but taking a loss. A lot of my niggas, they making it out. You putting them on, you consider a boss. I'll never want less, I want all that. Yeah, they say black Benji this, black Benji that. I don't address peasants, nigga, but just know I am all that.
That was our spotlight, y'all. Make sure y'all tap in with them. All right, back to our interview with Keith Richmond, aka Dot Rich, and his album, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, available on all streaming platforms. Make sure you tap in with it. Definitely. So, as creators, we go through a lot of ups and downs. What drives you to keep going?
Man, bro. I learned a long time ago that I had a spark inside me, you know. And before I really didn't know why I had that spark. I just knew I had a lot of energy and something was always inspiring me to go. When it first started, obviously, that's why I wrote the Pietà. You know, that obviously is like my form of accolading my mother, you know, or an accolade to my mother, who was always that thriving force based on me watching her carry me for the majority of my life, you know. And that's why it's entitled the Pietà, which is this obviously the sculpture done by the great Michelangelo, right. Who also is tied to the School of Athens, which get into that later. But so in that piece, the Pietà, obviously it's Mary holding her son Jesus as if he's fully grown man, but he's a baby, but he's dead. You know, this was after the crucifixion, which I'm assuming it was after being taken down off the cross. And it just showed like the grace in her appearance, the strength in her being able to hold a fully grown man and with such grace and elegance, as if he was still that baby of hers, because she was just, no matter what the extent of what a mother would do to carry a child in terms of that love. And my mom was always that form of inspiration. And so as far as creating and getting sparks from that, I think just not always wanting to show her that, look, Mom, look what I did. You know, like I came home with a dope drawing. She put it on the fridge. Look, Mom, look what I did. Put a smile on her face, maybe forget about her worries, you know, right. Just for that moment. And so I remember there was a point in my life I would always, for every holiday, I would always do a painting or a piece and surprise her with it for the holidays. Just something unique just for her. And the more I grew in art or in music, I would always write a song for her or something just to show her my appreciation. And that was always also that driving force, like knowing I had, like, that was for this album, that was the second beat I had gotten from the same producer as the Come Home With Me. So was sitting on those two beats, and those two beats were the two pieces that was like, okay, if nothing else, I got to do it for these two reasons. And then from there, like, you know, I think it's kind of like when your parents let you go and you become your man, you see that, you know that you have to survive. you have to live. You want to succeed. And what is going to get you up every day and make that happen? Well, I got to be, I got to pay bills regardless. I'm married, but at the end of the day, there's so much inside of me that I want to express. And I came to the conclusion that I'm truly a messenger, and I don't, can't say what or why, or explain it clearly at this point, but I know it in my heart. And I wasn't given these gifts for no reason, and how can I utilize them to touch people, to inspire people, to maybe spark the next generation. Whether I gain anything, let's say of this realm, of the secular realm, and that, like, let's step into the whole meaning of dot rich in itself, digging a little bit deeper into what it means, which is being rich in self. The dot is like, so my whole thing about not being a full circle, or like having a full circle, before you even have a circle, you have yourself. I am that dot, and a dot, as a dot moves, it might move from point to point, which creates a segment, and depending whether it creates a circle or a different form, and if those dots are stars, it's like we're connecting the dots, and those dots could form a constellation. But if we connect, we could probably build something. So dot rich, being rich in self. And so and recognizing that in myself, and not to tear off into the whole I am thing, because I ain't trying to offend people, but knowing who you are, knowing yourself, that's the whole purpose and point of the graduate studies. Every time I do a graduate studies, it's because I took a point in my life and I studied what I went through with all my struggles, my ups, my downs, and then everything surrounded me in the world. And when I stop and say, okay, now it's time to create, it's time to write that experience, which is the graduate studies. I'm only 42, but as life beats you up some, you start feeling, when I say 38, 39, I start feeling the different, bones start feeling different when I wake up. Like, right. Them sore muscles didn't cure as fast without the proper amino acids, you know what I mean? So, you have to start digging and searching for different, deeper, or just knowing how strong you are, and also wisdom plays a part into that. The understanding of, I'm here, and I may be running low on time, but with every moment, what are you going to do to leave your imprint on not just the world, but on the existence of our time, because at some point you do leave Earth, just how and what form or what you believe, I guess, is a matter of the test of time, but yeah, man. So as far as the inspiration that sparked to keep going, man, and now I know I'm a light. I know I'm a beam of light. I know I'm an energy source. I know and like as big as I used to always wonder why I could not stop smiling, but it's just that energy emitting out of me. Right. And that's that same energy that fuels, man, when I hear a beat, when I hear y'all, like, there's so many people, artists, like, when I hear the stuff y'all put out, bro, like, even when I'm like, I'm not gonna make anything new, like, I start hearing stuff and I start just like, woo, right? Like, yeah, I want to do something, you know what I mean? And it always comes down to creativity. And that's why, like, even with me saying like goodbye to the album, I can't say if, you never know. I'll probably say, like, I'll pop up with a new album one year. I don't know, but this point, right? At this point, as far as focusing on the graphic novel, and not wanting to let music go, that's why I decided to do soundtracks. And obviously the What If There Be Thorns soundtrack was kind of like, it was kind of rushed, but I think it turned out beautifully. And it only happened because I think y'all all there were artists who told me I should do it. So we ran and tried to scramble and get it done, but it served such a great purpose because it sparked that idea of tie the music to the graphic novel, whether it's a film or whether it's a cartoon or not. Still, it can have a soundtrack to it.
Right.
Art and music always goes hand in hand, you know.
Always.
And that's like that's hip hop, graffiti, and music, breaking, hip hop, dance. All of that plays such an important factor in our cultures, all of our cultures.
Right.
You know, to this day, especially now. You know, so much that sometimes you can't tell if it's hip hop, you know, or what. But
right.
it all spun from that same web of that origin of that culture, you know. And so as far as me aging and wanting to always make sure I stay a part of the culture as a whole, even when I'm doing art, man, I gotta listen to music. And when I'm drawing and I'm doing backgrounds or I'm thinking about how this is going to be animated, you're hearing sound effects, you're hearing the characters' voices, you're hearing the hip hop beats, you're hearing the theme songs, you're wondering what sound could be, like what producer could help me bring this to life, you know? So yeah, man, and that again, and that in itself is a spark of inspiration, you know? Sometimes, like, you know, we use that term, the plug or the outlet. And that's what it is. There's so many plugs. There's so many outlets, you know, and sometimes you just got to tap in, you know, or like, hey, can I plug in, bro? Because I need some of that juice right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, man. Like I feel like there's days I'll wake up tired. And like once I get going, though, like even at work, like it's crazy because Stan Lee was one thing Stan Lee said, you know, he had wrote it in one of his issues of Spider-Man, and it was on one of the cartoons as well. When it was a young Peter Parker with his Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben told him to rake the leaves, you know, and Peter was, why do I got to do all, you know, he didn't really want to do all that. He sat him down and said, son, listen, sometimes you'll find that a lot of hard work, basically the things you have to go through, will create an energy to spark your creative juices or ideas and generate things. And I come to find like most of my ideas had come from me like being really busy and generating like that. It's like it channels itself, you know what I mean? Right. And then like when I go in solitude and I write and create, I'll be in a zone and I go into like a meditating zone, and I just like, it all starts coming alive, you know? And that's just that energy you get from living, from life, from breathing, from people breathing, you know, from the engagement, the encounters you get with people, especially creative minds, you know, and those who by yourself, you may have these ideas. You might be like, you can do a lot, and then you might get one phone call or call somebody or just happen to be in that presence. And then like, hey, you made me think of something. Right. Can I work with you on this? You know, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing. The energy is ridiculous. And sometimes it's exhausting, you know. Sometimes it's really exhausting. And that's when I become a hermit. But when I become that hermit, that's when I start taking all those engagements and bringing them to life. So many characters were born from my encounters with all of you humans. You know, I call you humans. like I'm not one, you know. I'll be telling people I came to Earth just to study y'all and get and deliver a message and then take back my information.
Dope.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So up next for Keith Richmond, you got the Black Presentation Notebook.
Yes, sir. The Black Presentation Notebook, the graphic novel, issue 1, volume 1, issue 1, slated to release finally this holiday season, if not the first quarter of the new year, depending on time of as far as wrapping up everything. Originally, it was supposed to come out before this album, but I knew it would have just been too much of a gap of time for me to have released content. So that also drove me to have to get the album done. And then like I said, as far as recording and even hearing back the characters coming to life, they really, really spark like, okay, now I can see what this layout could be or is gonna be. So
Right.
it also sparks more inspiration to get done. And I felt like I lifted a whole weight off my shoulders now with that. But the hardest part is gonna be like doing the next soundtrack with it. Yeah, probably be hitting some people up.
Well, definitely, you got my line. So let me know. I would love to be a part of that. So
a lot of the characters that some of the people were supposed to play in the part 2, 3, and 4 of the What If There Be Thorns, obviously they're in the graphic novel as well, and a lot of those scenarios play out in there that were supposed to play out on screen. But you know, so some of the stuff I even talked to some of the other artists about, as far as songs, music concepts. I remember C3. I talked to him about some stuff. Hopefully, we could revisit that and
make it happen.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. Yeah. So that's what's next as far as me under Dot Rich Studios. But as far as like musically, just with the whole camp, I got my artist Adolf Hideous, who's releasing a mixtape soon called 1111. It'll be dropping in November. November 11th.
Right.
And then we got his album be slated to release. And I'll let you know a little secret. Me and him, I promised him I'll do one final duo project with him. So that was my last. This is my last solo album. But I don't know how much I'll be on this project. But he wants to work with a lot of artists. So we'll probably be hitting you up, bro, and seeing who's on the table. But as far as that project with us, we really, really want to take it to a very creative mix album. I don't want to say mixtape, but like an album that just involves a lot of talent that we really appreciate listening to, that and people we know and we've come to have fallen in love with. And then as far as him being new back on the scene, he just released his first album last year, which was, he kind of just threw it out there to get something out there. I love what he's working on right now. And he said, bro, you need to put me on some of these young cats who doing their thing, because, you know, he produces like you as well, and he wants to work with more. So we'll see.
Okay, make sure y'all tap in with Adolf Hideous and Keith Richmond, aka Dot Rich, and the basic instructions before leaving Earth. Make sure you hit that play button on your favorite streaming platform. You can work out to it. You can be out doing your thing, listening to it, but make sure you listen to the lyrics too. Knowledge. Definitely. Can you let our audience know where they can find you and Adolf Hideous?
Yes, sir. So as far as social media with me, I'm on Facebook, 2 different Facebook pages. Dot Rich is my regular page. Become a friend if you like. I haven't hit 5,000, so until I do or whatever, I don't care. I'll just be accepting anybody who obviously want to follow. There's people who are other artists who follow me, and random people. So I think it's cool because you never know what the future holds. Right. And then I got the Dot Rich Studios LLC page. Follow that. That'll probably be the home from here on out of most of the release of the content, especially with the other artists I'm working on, and as far as the graphic novel and a lot of the promotional stuff that will be coming out. Then there's Instagram is also Dot Rich Studios LLC, I believe. TikTok is the same thing, Dot Rich Studios LLC. I got some crazy media stuff about to drop for all those platforms. Twitter's the same. I think Twitter is Keo Rich. Snapchat is the same. And then Adolf Hideous is on Facebook as Adolf Hideous. Hideous Views is one of his others. I believe he's Adolf Hideous on Instagram as well. I'm trying to get him more into social media. He hates it all. He likes doing is making music. He don't like messing with no technological stuff outside of his beat machines and stuff like that. So But I'm trying, man. I tell him he needs to just go live and do anything. But it's hard to like get him out of that old mentality.
Right.
But yeah, that's where you can find us right now, or even YouTube. Keith Richmond on YouTube. I got some old stuff on there. I haven't released any new music videos yet. But it's still content you can follow. There's more to come. And same with Adolf Hideous on YouTube. And then as far as all streaming platforms, all the music's there, man. You just log in, Keith Richmond, aka .Rich, and you'll basically come across myself and Adolf Hideous as well. His last album just dropped called Minimalist. It's nice production. He did no features.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Alrighty. Make sure y'all tap in with Keith Richmond, aka .Rich, and Adolf Hideous. His album will be in the description below. Make sure you tap in, and you're not tuned into the Journey Podcast. I appreciate y'all tapping with us this evening. All right.
Peace. Thank you, my brother, for having me.
Of course. Anytime, man. Thank you.
Yeah.